All right, well, good evening, everybody. And welcome to the January 25th, 2022 Hempstead Town Board meeting. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Supervisor Clayton.
Here.
Councilman Carini.
Here.
Councilman D'Esposito.
I'm here.
Councilman Dunn. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilman Muscarella.
Present. Councilman Carini, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we have seated, if we all stand in remembrance of two fallen New York City officers. Unfortunately, we had another passing today of the men in blue who went to serve the city on a simple Friday night. And it shows you the tragedy that can happen. A moment of silence for Officer Jason Rivera and Officer Wilbert Moore. Thank you. God bless their souls and their families. Madam Clerk, please call the first public hearing.
With pleasure. We have the proposed local law regarding regulations and restrictions to limit parking in Belmore.
Any member of the board wish to be heard on this? If not, I do not have any slips. Does any member of the public here tonight wish to be heard on item number one? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed local law regarding parking or standing prohibitions in Elmont, Oceanside, and Roosevelt.
Okay, any member of the board wish to be heard on this? Okay, I do not have any slips. Any member of the public wish to be heard on item number two? If not, may I please have a motion?
I make the motion that the hearing be closed and the board accept the item.
Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed local law regarding arterial stops in Hempstead, Oceanside, and Wantagh.
Okay, any member of the board wish to be heard on this? Okay, I do not have any slips. Any member of the public wish to be heard on item number three? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move that the proposed hearing be closed and I vote on the item.
Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed handicap parking on public streets in Belmore, Elmont, Garden City South, Roosevelt, and Uniondale.
Any member of the board wish to be heard on this? I do not have any slips. Any member of the public wish to be heard on item number four? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move that the public hearing be closed and the board accept the item.
Second the motion.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have the application of Valley Stream Green Acres LLC and BJ's Wholesale Club Incorporated for a permit to include gasoline service station within the GSS district and to install 3 storage tanks, 2 20,000-gallon tanks, and 1 24,000-gallon tank in Valley Stream.
Okay, I see counsel for the applicant. Good evening, Mr. Baker.
Good evening, Mr. Supervisor, members of the board. Daniel Baker, on behalf of the applicants from Sir Tillman, Ballin, Adler, and Hyman, 90 Merrick Avenue, East Meadow, New York, 11554. Again, good evening. I am appearing tonight on behalf of the co-applicants, Valley Stream Green Acres LLC and BJ's Wholesale Club, Inc., for an application for inclusion of a portion of the existing parking lot area at Green Acres Mall in the town's gasoline service station district for a proposed new BJ's gasoline station. I am joined by representatives from both applicants as well as our project design team and consultants. After I give a little bit of introductory remarks, I will ask two of our members of the team to speak. First, our civil engineer and then our traffic engineer. We do have an easel up front, and if need be, we can put plans up there if we need to point anything out, but I believe all of the board members have plan sets in front of them, and if you have any questions, we can try to do our best here to explain, and if not, we can put something up to help that along.
Thank you, Mr. Baker.
Sure thing. The applicants are proposing to construct a BJ's gas station within the confines of the overall Green Acres Mall. I'm going to take the guess that all the board members are fully aware of the mall and its location on the south side of Sunrise Highway and Valley Stream. The overall property currently lies in the town's regional shopping mall zoning district, and the proposed BJ's gas portion will lie in a GSS overlay within the mall's property and within that regional shopping mall zoning district. The proposed GSS location is in the southwest corner of the mall and located on Green Acres Road, which is the ring road that circles around and throughout the mall property. The existing BJ's Wholesale Center lies slightly diagonal from the proposed GSS site on the south side of the ring road. Also, near the general area of the proposed parking is a Best Buy and Raymore and Flanagan in what's sort of like a pad outbuilding, and then one of the parking garage structures that abuts the mall is also just a little bit to the east. The proposed GSS area is approximately 36,500 square feet in size, which is roughly 0.84 acres. There will be 12 pumps that will provide regular unleaded, premium unleaded, and diesel fuel from 3 underground storage tanks, 2 of which are 20,000 gallons, 1 of which is 24,000 gallons. The site will have 3 access points for ingress and egress, 3 dedicated parking spaces, including a handicap spot, and a 400-square-foot kiosk for the attendant that will work there and be on duty. Gas will be self-serve, but the attendant will be available at all times to assist anybody who needs, and there will be signage at all the pumps alerting the patrons to that fact that if they need, they can push a button and have somebody come and help them. BJ's operates more than 145 gas stations currently, with 6 of those located on Long Island. This station will be a members-only station, as most of them are, and will operate from 6:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and 6:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Sunday. The station will provide free of charge air compressor and will also have an on-site generator in the event of any power outages. Site improvements will include new lighting and landscaping, along with a canopy over the pump islands and the attendant kiosk. The improvements will require certain relaxations from this board with regard to the canopy, pumps, and kiosk, all of which encroach a little bit into the allowable setback, which is actually the front portion, and I will allow our engineer to explain that a little bit more, but that is part of this approval. There is one variance associated with this project, but not directly part of the GSS, that we will have to go to the Board of Appeals for, and that is a variance that will relate to the overall mall parking. It will be slightly deficient, and our traffic and parking expert can speak a little bit more to that when he gets up, but because of that, we do have to go to the Board of Appeals. Again, it's not this GSS area that is deficient, but because of the parking spaces that are being taken away to develop the gas station, it will create this deficiency that requires the overall mall to go to the Board of Appeals, which we're going to do after we go here and hopefully have the approval of this board. So with that, I think this is a good time to introduce Eric Mine from Bowler Engineering. He's our civil engineer. After Eric does his thing, certainly you can ask questions while he's up. If you want to wait till the end, I am going to ask, after Eric speaks, that Bob Eschbacher from VHB get up and talk about traffic and parking. So at this time, I'll hand it off to Eric.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Supervisor, members of the board. Eric Mine of Bowler Engineering, 2929 Expressway Drive North, Hauppauge, New York, here on behalf of the applicant. I'll try to keep this brief. I think Mr. Baker did a good job of identifying where the location is, which is on the north side of the ring road within the mall, basically where Green Acres Road West meets Green Acres Road South. So this is just south of the Men's Warehouse and just west of the Macy's parking garage. As Mr. Baker indicated, there'll be a kiosk. It'll be a 20-foot by 20-foot kiosk, approximately 9 feet tall. This is for the attendants only. It includes an electrical room and a restroom for the employees. It's not accessible by the public and is for the attendants. The only thing you can purchase there would be a club membership. There's also a 181-foot by 24-foot canopy That's approximately 17 feet high, which is a little lower than most of the retail buildings within the mall. It provides a 14-foot clearance for vehicles, which is typical for a gasoline service station. Just to clarify what Mr. Baker indicated about the dispensers, there's 6 fueling dispensers with 2 fueling positions each, one on each side of the dispenser. And Mr. Eschbacher will get more into the queuing, where there's a 3-vehicle queue plus at each of those fueling positions. There's 3 USTs proposed. 2 are 20,000-gallon regular tanks, and one's a 24,000-gallon split tank that would include 12,000 gallons of diesel and 12,000 gallons of premium fuel. On top of that, we're providing a generator on the site, or proposing a generator in the instance there's power loss, so that the gas station can continue to operate, as we've seen through some of the storms Long Island has seen over the past few years. There's 1 air tower proposed in conformance with the GSS standards. And we also have 1 trash enclosure. It's approximately 9 by 8 feet to accommodate a dumpster for hauling any potential trash that could be generated. Other than that, Mr. Baker indicated there will be landscape improvements. We're proposing a number of arborvitaes and junipers, as well as some gold flame spireas to add some color, and that'll dress the site up in this corner. Mr. Eschbacher will be up next. He can talk more about the queuing and the access, and I'm sure he'll get to the parking as well. But thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I would ask Robert Eschbacher to speak a little bit about the traffic and parking.
Good evening, Supervisor Clavin and members of the Town Board. My name is Robert Eschbacher. I'm a principal in the Transportation Group at VHB Engineering. Our office is located at 100 Motor Parkway in Hauppauge. I was retained by the applicant to review this matter with respect to parking and traffic issues. My work included a review of the site plan, an assessment of traffic volumes, an evaluation of the site access and internal circulation, and an analysis of the adequacy of parking, not only for the BJ's gas site, but for the overall Green Acres Mall. First, with respect to traffic generation. As Mr. Baker indicated, the proposed gas station will only be available for BJ's members. And most of these that come here will combine their gas purchase with a visit to the BJ's store, which is right across Green Acres Road, which functions as the ring road around the mall. Therefore, these cars are already traveling on the local roadway system and will not be adding more traffic. They're already there going to the BJ's store. For the relatively small percentage of customers who will come to the gas station without visiting the store, the increase in traffic volumes will be minimal and amounting to no more than a 2% change to the ring road traffic. This will not result in any congestion along the ring road. With respect to the site access, as explained by the site engineer, the proposed gas station will have multiple access points which will facilitate movements to and from the ring road and to and from the adjoining parking areas around the mall. These access points are well designed and will function efficiently and safely. It's a very simple, straightforward traffic pattern for the gas station. Members will approach from the north side, get in line, purchase the gas, and then leave on the south side of the pump islands. There's very adequate room in the design to allow for multiple vehicles to be waiting to enter each of the pump islands. When the customers are finished purchasing the fuel, they will be able to either return directly to the ring road and go north directly to Sunrise Highway, or they can head to the east and then use the traffic signal to cross over the ring road and go to the BJ's. Once again, this will function very efficiently. Finally, I studied the impact of this project on parking, not only in the vicinity of the proposed gas station, but also regarding the overall mall. As part of this analysis, I looked at parking in the area adjoining the gas station on a Saturday afternoon in November. even though the gas station will result in the loss of some parking spaces in this area, these are in a corner of the mall that is very lightly used. Those spaces really do not face directly on the main entrances to any of the adjoining stores. Therefore, it serves as overflow and is very lightly used. Our observations reveal that in the area where the gas station would be placed, there were at least 200 vacant spaces at the busiest time on a Saturday afternoon. And in combination with the nearby parking field, there were always more than 500 vacant spaces. We also, on the Saturday before Christmas, conducted a follow-up study, not only of that area, but of the entire Green Acres Mall, which I will deal with in detail when we appear before the Board of Appeals. However, on that very busy shopping day, this information revealed that there were a very, very large percentage of the parking spaces available. So the loss of the parking spaces due to the BJ's will not in any way have any significant effect on the overall parking. In conclusion, based upon the results of my study and analysis, it is my professional opinion that the proposed BJ's gas station will not have an adverse impact on local parking or traffic conditions, and I recommend that this application be approved by the town board. I'd be happy to answer any questions the board members may have.
Anybody have any questions right now?
If not, I'll turn it back to Mr. Baker.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So,
Hold on, Ty.
I just have a question. The property that you do own, the BJ's, the tire center, and now the gas station, is any of the property owned by you, or is it owned by, or just leasing it?
BJ's leases that property.
Okay. And then the other question is, the service center will be servicing any type of commercial vehicles? Are there any BJ member?
No, it's purely intended for cars. It's not going to have tractor trailers. It does have diesel, but it's not intended to have commercial use like that.
Okay, thank
If
Any other presentation?
That's our presentation. If there are no other questions, then I
Why
would,
don't we hang out for a little bit? We got a couple of residents who signed in. Is that all right with you and the team?
absolutely.
Cool. Okay. Let's see, I got Danny Baker, Danny Baker, Escher, Mita Meriday. Good evening. If you gave your name and address for the record, please. Thank you.
Mita Meriday, Town of Hempstead resident. I have a number of concerns with regard to this. I didn't really hear anything as it pertains to environmental impact, wastewater, runoff, things of that nature, particularly in that community, which has had some issues with runoff and the type of weather that we have when we have a lot of rain, and when you have oil and gasoline that runs into certain drainage areas. That's a problem. Also, has the town looked into the ratio of gas stations, service stations that seem to perpetuate largely in communities of color or lower income? There are a number of gas stations that I'm wondering are going to be impacted on Sunrise Highway with the introduction of this type of facility. We already have a number of businesses along Sunrise Highway that have been shuttered due to COVID and just increased cost and reduced sales. So I'm concerned about, again, another big market entity coming in and expanding their service base, which effectively shuts down small businesses that are already struggling. So largely my questions, which I would have hoped that my elected officials would have been asking, again, would result in addressing the impact on those residents as far as, I'm hearing something about they don't really foresee any type of increase in traffic or things of that nature, which always turns out to not be the case for the residents who live there. as well as the environmental impact and the economic impact on the small businesses. So food for thought, but I would hope that someone would consider doing some type of study that determines the number of gas stations, Bola, 7-Eleven, Valero, that seem to increase in proliferation in communities of color or lower income versus, say, maybe Garden City or someplace like that. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Baker, is there anything you want to touch base on that, her environmental concerns?
Yeah, to address the stormwater runoff concerns, basically much of that area of the mall drains down toward this area, so we're not actually modifying the stormwater pattern. It's still going to exist in the same way. What we are doing is we're providing more landscaping than is there today, so we actually have more pervious area, which means less volume of stormwater. And with regard to the environmental quality with the gas station, there's automatic shutoff switches on the dispensers. There's several controls in place that we approve through the health department and the fire marshal. And there's emergency response equipment within the attendant area to attend to any potential spills. We don't foresee any environmental impact with regard to stormwater at the site that would be any different than any other commercial use in the area.
Okay. Thank you very much. Next, I have the name's sort of cut off here. Margaret Pat something from Atlanta? She's with you? I figured as much. Okay. Joe Floricki? Joe Floricki from Valley Stream is with you too. And next, I'm going to assume that unless Jason flew all the way from Portland, that he's probably with you as well. All right. Even though, I mean, it's beautiful to visit here at the town of Hempstead, Jason. So, all right. I do not have any other slips on item number 5. Is there anybody here that wishes to ask any questions in the audience that's here tonight? If not, does any of the board have any other questions?
Supervisor, I make a motion we reserve decision.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn. Aye. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Baker, and I thank you all for their presentation and coming in here tonight.
Thank you all very much. Have a good evening.
You too. Okay. Madam Clerk, please call the administrative calendar.
Yes, on the administrative calendar tonight, we have items 6 through 57.
Okay. Any member of the board wish to sever or have a comment on any of the administrative calendar? All right. If not, hold on. I got a couple of comments here. I have a Bonnie Garone. Good evening, Ms. Garone. If you could name and address for the record, that'd be awesome.
Bonnie Garone, Rockville Center. I would like to talk about 2 items, mainly item 36, but first, item 47. Now, this bid was on the calendar for the last session, and it was tabled. And at that time, the resolution indicated that the contract would go to the lowest bidder, which was DECO, I don't know how to pronounce it. But now, it's back on the calendar. But this time, it's being awarded to the highest bidder, whose bid is actually twice the price of the one that was going to be awarded last time before it was tabled, I think, by a motion from Councilman D'Esposito. And I'm wondering if anyone can tell us the reason we are awarding the bid to a bidder whose price is double the lowest bidder.
Okay. If you identify yourself, Mr. Lombardi.
Good evening, Supervisor, Town Board. Dominic Lombardi, Deputy Town Controller. This bid was, yes, you are correct, it is being awarded to the highest bidder. However, it is the lowest responsible bidder. In reviewing various the items from the other 2 bidders, this item is of much better quality, and it will last us a lot longer instead of having to be replaced. It is also from a local vendor. It is a local vendor here on Long Island. It is a product made on Long Island. So that is why it's being awarded to this bid.
Well,
excuse me, just one other thing. It is also, Ms. Garone, less invasive than the products that were being offered by the other bidders. Am I not correct? Yes. Thank you.
All of that makes good sense, but none of it is reflected here. Yes, it says it's local, but it's not Town of Hempstead, it's not even the County of Nassau. And given that it's double the price of the lowest bidder, I believe there really should be more documentation, and the town code does require that if something's awarded on the basis of best value as opposed to the lowest price, that the reason is thoroughly and completely explained. That's not the case here, and I hope that you'll do that in the future.
I also want to point out, and Mr. Longobardi, you correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that something else that was different about this specific item was that it doesn't expire, and also there was very little training that needed to be put forth to those that are using it.
Both of those.
Okay.
Okay. Again, I hope that you'll document it in the future so we'll understand the reason for these decisions. Item 36 is the agreement with the company who is going to install and manage the program to put cameras on school bus arms to record any traffic that passes the school bus, and obviously by violation of law. This really hasn't been very publicized, and I think that this, honestly, with all due respect, this agreement should be tabled today because it's premature, and there are other reasons as well. It's premature because we don't even yet have legislation that allows the town to do this. That's not even on the calendar until next time. The terms and conditions are not here. It says that we are entering into the master agreement that Dutchess County used, and then attached are only the differences, not the terms. It says that the town reviewed the business and financial terms of the master agreement, but none of us can see them because only the exceptions to that agreement are here. We need to see the whole agreement. So this is not complete. And third, at least one term in here appears it appears to raise questions. It's either not true or it raises a question that isn't addressed for residents, and it says in paragraph 524, the total amount of the town's 55% revenue share payment to be paid to school district as determined in accordance with Article 5.2. Are these revenues going to be shared with school districts? That's not clear here. In other places, it says it just goes to the town. Saved by the bell. Wait, I'm sorry, what was the last thing you said? Could you speak up?
The answer to your question is whether or not the bus patrol shares any of its percentage with the school district is between bus patrol and the school district. But the amounts that are received by the town are reserved to the town.
It's not what it says in 5.2.4. At best, it's not clear. And based on those three reasons, and especially since it's premature because we have no such law, this should be tabled today.
Just for the record, Supervisor, we have a calling resolution on the calendar. Excuse me. We have a calling resolution on the calendar so that we can opt into the vehicle and traffic law that would enable us to do this. And it's actually required that we have a vendor in place before we can get to the enactment of the law.
Thank you, Ms. Nocella. Thank you, Ms. Cron. We appreciate it. Okay. Thank you so much. Next, I have a slip from Meta Meriday. Good evening again. For your name and address for the record, thank you.
Meta J. Meriday, where does one begin? Thought we were all going to be nice this year. Let me start. All right, my questions have to do with the minority women and veteran business opportunities or subcontracts, if any, as it pertains to items number 9, 16, 17, 19, 20, 25, 32, 33, 35, 46, 36, and 47. Have a question regarding number 30, item 38. Just wanted to know where was the information with regard to this consultant and if he's related to anybody on the board or on the executive staff.
Who?
27, item 38.
Okay, so
Item 27, unless somebody's going to stop the clock, I got to keep talking. Item 27 and 28. again, for 27, why are we authorizing an increase for the price of printed envelopes when you burn enough publications talking about how much paper you're saving and how efficient the town of Hempstead is trying to be? Don't understand that. Item 28, authorizing amendment to 2022 budget appropriating fund balance to establish motor vehicle expenses. You're decreasing highway funds the way our roads look to increase your motor vehicle expense. I mean, again, that needs clarification for me, and I'm sure all the other taxpayers out here who have to ride through the potholes in the town of Hempstead. And again, I'm calling on some type of investigation, be it from New York State or the federal government, as opposed to the funding, distributions, and allotments within the town of Hempstead, because things like that, when you're decreasing highway funding, which could possibly impact road work to increase motor, so that to me, it just doesn't ring well. Item 3435, when you're coming down to ratification and confirming payments to publications and advertising, again, what minority media is being used to incorporate and or at least to perpetuate some form of mystery with regard to the lack of diversity and inclusion within the township of Hempstead. Just confusing altogether. Items 43, 44, and 45, the appointees to the South Nassau Water Authority District, and keeping with the appropriations or just awareness, Nassau County they had not put their nominees in place yet because they said basically the legislation wasn't in place yet. So I'm just curious as to how the town can put their appointees in place if the legislation is out there. But by the way, according to the Long Island Committee on Clean Air, Water, and Sewage, they seem to like these appointees, so if it works for them, it works for me. But I would like to get some clarification or listing of the contracts that I named, the numbers I named earlier, as to who they are.
Okay, Ms. Meriday, first off, that legislation was passed up in Albany and signed by the governor in December for the appointment, so I don't know who spoke to in the county. They must have been a little mistaken. Secondly, if you'd like, that's Dominic.
Said theirs wasn't put in place.
Okay, well, like I said, I wasn't in the room. I'm just telling you that the legislation passed. In addition, that's Dominic Longobardi. He's a deputy in the controller's office, correct, Dominic? Perhaps you could get the information and follow up and follow through on a couple of those answers to those questions. That'd be great. Thank you very much. If you go in the back, Dominic will get your contact information right now.
Thank you.
Okay. I do not have any other slips in the administrative calendar. Is there's anybody else that'd like to be heard here? Please go to the back, and you don't have to yell. Please go to the back and give your name and address for the record. That would be great. Good evening.
Felix Procacci, Franklin Square. I just want to follow up with what Bonnie was saying about there's no terms on number 36. We're in litigation about that, about not following the open meetings law, me against the town. Maybe if your lawyer ever responds, it's been a 180-day delay. But I think you should start following the law. All of you swore an oath when you were elected, re-elected, or if you're an attorney over here, you swore an oath to follow the law, and you're not following the law. So I think you should give that some thought before you vote on it. You should table this, wait till you put the proper notice, and then rehear this next time. No big deal. What's the problem? Just do everything by the book. Thank you.
Quick response. Supervisor, just a quick response, because it's been alleged that some of the terms are not within the master contract. That is because, as I said before, we have a calling resolution on this calendar so that we have a hearing on February 15th. The resolution that calls for the master contract with Bus Patrol need be in effect in order for us to then adopt the law, if in fact we adopt the law. And at that point, we would be able to fill in other terms in the contract, assuming we, in effect, adopt the law on February 15th.
Gotcha.
Okay, so just to follow up with what you said, that would be great. So then so the next time you will put all the terms of this contract in the resolutions for when you pass, the next, when you get to the next phase of this thing. So that would be great. And also, just to follow up with what happened at the last meeting, because you didn't follow up with it, is the terms of the Cablevision agreement. That was
Mr. Bicacci, is this on the administrative
no,
calendar?
but this is the point that you're not putting the things on the calendar.
Mr. Bicacci, you've been
need
coming
to
for a
put-
long time.
You need to put things on the calendar all the time.
Okay, I appreciate it.
I just want to get that through to you.
No, we hear you loud and clear. Thank you very much. And Mr. Sell, thank you for that explanation. I appreciate your low degree. Is there anyone else in the audience that'd like to be heard that did not sign in? Sure, if you give your name and address to the record, that'd be awesome.
Diane Madden, Hempstead. Item number 11. Could someone please tell me these jobs? Were they posted, the opportunities related to this resolution? How did you go about choosing these employees?
Good evening, Supervisor, members of the board. Ma'am, it's basically renewals of contracts. These are our instructors that do our yoga, aquamatics, our Pilates, and all of our participants that attend these classes have relationships with them. At one time, one of the instructors was actually retiring. I received 1 million letters, so it's a better look for our public and happier when they attend the classes when we have the most familiar instructors there.
No, that's great, but are they advertised opportunities or?
No, it was a renewal.
I'm sorry?
We renewed them.
All renewals?
Yes.
All of the positions?
Same instructors.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to take this opportunity, though, again, and propose to the board that they bring in an outside diversity consultant.
Do you have a question on a particular administrative item?
It's in relation to that. It's in
Which item
relation
is
to
it?
hiring. So, again, I urge the board to consider that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any other slips. If not, may I have a motion on the administrative calendar?
Yes, I move the administrative calendar from 1 through 50, was it 57?
57.
57.
Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Carini. Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn. Aye. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Okay, may I please have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Carini. Councilman D'Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn. Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Okay, now that the formal town board program has been adjourned, the town board will remain to listen to the comments of the residents. I have a couple of people who signed in, and we will start with Felix Bicacci.
Felix Bicacci, Franklin Square. I am glad the TNR program has been fully restored after 22 months. Supervisor Clavin, in your 2019 campaign, you spoke about working together. But in March 2020, without any formal notification to residents or a legitimate reason, you chose to completely shut down the TNR program.
I think it was called COVID-19.
I wish you would have taken your own advice and worked with residents, especially those that have a deep concern about the welfare of feral cats. Sometimes it is necessary to stop and think and reevaluate before going forward. Nearly 5 years ago, then Supervisor Santino proposed new ethics legislation. What he proposed got passed was eventually much better than the prior law. As you know, I have an outstanding ethics complaint against the town's compliance officer, Thomas Wildig. I sent the complaint to the town's ethics counsel, Stephen Leventhal, over 3 months ago, and Mr. Leventhal has not responded as required by town law, a law you took an oath to uphold just 3 weeks ago. Now is an appropriate time to take a look at the town's ethics law because it is clearly not working as intended. Complaints supposed to be responded to. Supervisor Clavin, you were so quick to shut down the town's TNR program without first doing any evaluation, but in the case of the town's ethics law, which is clearly not being followed by Mr. Leventhal, you have chosen to do nothing. The same can be said of Mr. Derham's handling of FOIL appeals. Mr. Derham is not sending FOIL appeals to the Committee on Open Government as required by state law. Supervisor Clavin, you had no good reason for suspending the TNR program, but you did. You have very good reasons for suspending Mr. Leventhal and Mr. Derham, but you don't. Supervisor Clavin, it's time for you to do your job and supervise. Tell Mr. Leventhal and Mr. Derham to do their jobs. And just to go back to the administrative calendar items that you spoke about, you regularly do not put the details of those resolutions on the town calendar, on the town's website as required by law, and it's been law for nearly 10 years. February 2nd, 2012 is when it was enacted. So I wish you'd please do that. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bacacci. Next, I have Bonnie Garone.
Bonnie Garone, Rockville Center. When I saw the appointments to certain boards on the calendar, it made me curious, so I looked at the section of the town website about the various advisory committees and boards and commissions, and I saw something very interesting. The Board of Ethics says for all of the members that they have no expiration to their term. And in fact, one person has been on there since 1998. As I read the town code, and I think I'm correctly reading it, they have a term of 4 years under the town code, section 38.25 sub C. So I think that you need to appoint some new members, whether they're the same people or new people. You know, obviously it'll be up to you, but I think that just by looking at the appointments today, it's very obvious you're not pulling from a very broad section of the town, and at least one person is completely unqualified. Now, I'm not going to denigrate any individual who's offered to serve, but really, there are a lot more people who would be interested if they only had the opportunity. I also noticed that on the Public Employment Relations Board, it shows that 2 people's terms have expired, and I would think that the union and employees might be interested in that. Finally, there's also on the town's website a chart of members of boards and commissions, and there's something called the Veterans Advisory Committee, and what it says is, quote, no appointments to date. So if you really want to have an advisory committee for veterans, I think it's time to appoint some people. So here are my suggestions. I think you need to update all your commissions and advisory committees, check the proper terms, and then adhere to that. You need to determine what other advisory committees would responsibly allow town residents to give useful input to the town board. We should, as residents, have some input, and advisory committees are a good way to do that. And as I've said before, we beg you to have an animal shelter advisory committee. Instead of having to listen every meeting to people talk about the animal shelter, let's have a committee that works together and cooperates and makes some suggestions. Finally, I think you need to broaden membership by considering interested residents, not just insiders. And since there's currently no way for residents to apply for these positions, I'm going to tell you right now, I'll throw my hat in the ring. I would give you my qualifications, but I'm running out of time. I'm happy to send you my resume if any of you will read it. And I would be happy to chair an animal shelter advisory committee with a bipartisan committee that works to make improvements instead of just getting up here and complaining. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening. Next, I have Mita Meride.
In this new year of niceness, it might have helped if someone would have said, one of our elected officials would have just said to the resident who comes here all the time to bring great ideas to the table. We're always told, you know, you all just show up and complain. I would have thought that somebody sitting there who's not, you know, chatting with each other or, you know, doing a crossword puzzle would have said to Ms. Bonnie, I think that's an excellent idea. We will look into that. We will follow up with that. And I used 30 seconds of my time for that. Again, doing the work of those that we elect to do the work in this spirit of being cooperative and productive. I didn't get an answer, even though I do appreciate the Commissioner taking down the list that's growing extensively of the contracts that do not seem to be inclusive of minority women, veterans, disabled, and the list of the underserved and under-involved in this township grows on. I appreciate his information that it will provide, But I didn't hear anyone mention to me about the lack of minority media that's utilized or that gets advertising dollars from the township with their extensive funding. And I didn't get an answer with regard to the need to print more envelopes when you push for being paperless. So I would appreciate someone, whether it's the elected officials, you know, the hired relatives, or the hardworking individuals who serve the town, to get me that kind of response. I'm also curious because I got calls after the last meeting when I brought up the issue about the lack of diversity, or let's just say the expansiveness in services or access to service for our senior citizens. I got a number of calls from senior residents who applauded my speaking up on their behalf, because many of them don't live in the communities that were outlined by the commissioner, or didn't know that they had to call to get transportation to a facility that's not present in their own community. So people are listening. You know, residents who can't come to the meeting, whether it's in the daytime or the evening, they are listening. And they too should have access. They should be able to answer questions from the convenience of their homes if they're not able to be here. So the lack of communication and content here is astonishing. I would also like for someone to point out to me where in the open meetings law that a resident or a taxpayer cannot cede the rest of their time to someone else to speak on a certain issue, because we were told when a resident was speaking they had time left that they could not give that time to someone else. So if someone could point that specific provision out to me, it would be greatly appreciated. And last and certainly not least, we need to step up our efforts, you know, for our veterans, and not just, you know, talk about it, but we need to be about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening. Next I have Stuart Kroll.
Stu Kroll, Great Neck. At long last, our TNR program is operating at or near full capacity. This is certainly a positive thing. However, given that TNR is a virtually contactless procedure, how is it that it took so long to occur? How many animals, particularly cats, have suffered and died on the streets for no reason? Individual taxpayers and small rescues have had to bear the full financial and emotional burden of trying to save injured and pregnant cats on the street. How many millions of dollars are now sitting in town bank accounts? This money was earmarked for help with COVID-related issues. So many of these rescues went into debt to fix cats that the town should have taken care of many, many months ago. These rescues are easily identifiable. Why not reimburse some of these 501c3s for all of the needless expenses they were forced to incur? At which capacity is our volunteer program now functioning? Are we back to reasonable rates, reasonable levels, or just a few favored volunteers are allowed to enter the shelter? Are our dogs being walked, or are they just basically languishing there? If these dogs are not getting sufficient stimulation as they deserve, they may misbehave, and no doubt they will pay the ultimate penalty for this. Are our cats getting sufficient socialization so that they can be prepared for adoption? More likely they are being ignored, and whether feral or not, will be sent to Good Shepherd Sanctuary, a sanctuary exclusively for feral cats. One reason for the lack of proper care is the leadership at the town shelter. How can we allow life and death decisions to be made by a quote-unquote behaviorist trainer who misrepresented, also known as lied, about the majority of her qualifications, which she later received? Why should such an individual be hired, when they didn't have the necessary credentials and asked more money than the qualified candidate? Wouldn't it be incumbent upon somebody who hired her to verify these credentials? If I ever decide to apply for a job for the town, I'm going to assert that I was a Supreme Court justice. Nobody's going to check it anyway, so it makes no difference. On another note, at the last meeting, I inquired as to how an individual charged with dogfighting, a felony, torturing animals and denying them sustenance is working for the town. This incident occurred in August. He is still with the town, and I saw that Mr. Urey was up for, I believe, transfer to the highway department. Correct me if I'm wrong. And obviously, we're all innocent until proven guilty. However, the police arrested him and 9 other individuals based upon very solid evidence. Why has this individual not been placed upon leave, whether paid or not? Is it fair to other town employees to have to interact with such an individual? What kind of an example does it set when such a despicable act incurs no immediate consequences? While the wheels of justice grind slowly, I suggest we pay more attention to protecting the sensibilities of civilized town employees and citizens and less to those of a depraved individual. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kroll. Safe ride back to Great Neck. Next, I have Leo Salvador. Good evening. If you give name and address to the record, thanks.
I'm Leo Salvador from Uniondale. I just want to let everyone in the community know that I'm a real estate agent and a realtor. We don't have a lot of inventory in Nassau County, so I'm out here reaching out to people. Whoever needs to sell their home or purchase a home in the future, please call me at 516-272-5724. I'm just here, just wanting to volunteer the community and help everyone out. So, thank you.
Thank you, Leo. You have a great evening, all right? Next, I have up Diane Madden.
Diane Madden, Hempstead. I'm glad that the TNR program has been reinstated. Some people look at it as progress. I mean, we got what we had. Having said that, it's good to have the program back. There's a dog, Caramel, in the animal shelter. Private citizens, as if $5 and nearly $500,000 isn't enough to help the animals, raised about $1,000 privately to try to help this dog. They've reached out to many rescues, and those rescues just absolutely refuse to deal with the Hempstead shelter because of the leadership. And this is something that's been going on and that you've been aware of, Supervisor, for a long time, that these animals are at such a tremendous disadvantage because many of these relationships were severed. He is not a bridge builder, he's a bridge burner. There's another dog, Bud. You have another bite case on your hands, Supervisor, and many of these bite cases can be prevented. It requires expertise. It requires someone that can rehabilitate dogs, not just put them in a cage and 17 and up and 15 and up and basically say online that they are unsocialized with other dogs. I don't know how that's possible when trainers came in and to teach play groups and keep these dogs social. The shelter is extremely short-staffed. Again, I don't know how that's possible on nearly $4.5 million of salaries. I realize, Supervisor, it's not your job to fix the shelter, but it's your responsibility to have someone in that position that can address all of these problems, that can reinstate programs. I noticed that Mr. Pastore and Mr. Marino are not here. I hope that's an indication that you are replacing them. I really hope that you make the same decisions you made for the TNR program. And not only that, but you made a decision, I believe, when Mr. Pastore and Mr. Marino made a statement that they no longer wanted the public. They wanted to exclude the public from entering the public kennels. And that probably took you not to agree to that. And you've acknowledged some of the mismanagement there. I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but you've chosen to use words over the last few meetings that have acknowledged the mismanagement. And I ask you to make those decisions like you made about allowing the public into the kennels and continuing the TNR program, because those are the right things to do. These animals are suffering. They're in cages for years at a time, and the relationships are severed. And it's like anything else. You're only as good as your...
Thank you, Ms. Madden, as always.
Supervisor, you're only as good as your relationships.
I'm respectfully going to call up Marcia DiTieri.
Thank you.
Marcia DiTieri, Newark, New York. First and foremost, I would like to thank everyone that was involved and spoke up to reinstate the TNR program at the Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter. As you were made aware, kitten season has never stopped, and having this program at full capacity has stopped countless unwanted births and ultimately saved lives. I, as well as so many other constituents, are looking forward to the shelter's updating socialization programs and adoption programs, updating the rundown, outdated shelter, getting more people involved, and getting every animal out of the shelter, adopted and into their forever homes. Also, at the last meeting, I once again inquired about the town initiating a tree preservation act. You mentioned that you spoke with the commissioner at the town of North Hempstead regarding their new improved act, which is now in effect. I would like to know if you are going forward to start preserving our environment as North Hempstead did, and if so, when will that be?
I told you, we did talk to the North Hempstead group. We went through the legislation, and the town board and I, when we feel comfortable with the ideas that all of us agree on, we'll put forth something.
So we don't know when?
No, I don't have it on my calendar when we will, but when we do, trust me, I'll be reaching out to you.
Hopefully that'll be soon. Thank you.
No problem at all. Thank you very much. I don't have any other slips. If anybody else that wishes to be heard that didn't sign it and hasn't spoken already. All right, if not, everybody safe ride home and stay safe. Bye-bye.